Finally, the defense headquarters has now confirmed there was a coup plot to topple President Bola Tinubu's government. In a statement released on Monday, Director of Defense Information, Semaila Uba, said investigations into coup attempt have been concluded and officers involved will be arraigned before relevant military and judicial panels. He said the findings showed that some of the officers had cases to answer over allegations of plotting to overthrow the government, and that the investigation report has now been forwarded to the appropriate superior authority. In October of 2025, the DHQ announced the arrest of 16 officers over acts of indiscipline and breaches of service regulations. The officers include Brigadier General Musa Abubakar Sadiq, Colonel M.A. Maiji, Lieutenant Colonel S. Bapa, Lieutenant Colonel A.A. Hayatu, Private Dangnap, Lieutenant Colonel M. Almakura, Major M.M. Jida, Major M.A. Usman, Major D. Yusuf, Major I. Dauda, Captain Ibrahim Bello, Captain A.A. Yusuf, Lieutenant S.S. Felix, Lieutenant Commander D.B. Abdullahi, and Squadron Leader S.B. Adamu. For this conversation, let's turn to a security expert, Awal Aliyu, as well as a lawyer, Jide Ologu, who joins us here in the studio. Gentlemen, okay, I understand we don't have Awal at the moment, but we do have Jide Ologu here in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us. I mean, what is it with our leaders with denial of an occurrence and then only turn around to confirm that this actually happened?
You know, there are two sides to it. On a matter so crucial like this, there was a need to have a comprehensive investigation, you know, and that was the excuse given. And of course, the spokesperson that denied then and disclosed that those were just issues of internal indiscipline and unethical actions from the military officers, you know, is no longer there. And now another spokesperson is saying that that coup attempt has been confirmed and the matter will be referred to the appropriate disciplinary panel. And talking about denial, it may be one of the public relations challenges that the government of Nigeria has, because like you also requested to know why. And I guess if I can say why, and some will respond by saying perhaps thorough attention is not given to issues, or that on the spur of the moment we just like to deny. But apparently, when I read that the parade that was to, you know, visit the independence celebration was cancelled, I suspected something was fishy. But here we are now, it's been confirmed, and then they will have to face the necessary disciplinary institutions.
Okay, I'll come to the trust issue subsequently if we have time, but more importantly is the statement saying that they will they've sent the reports to the appropriate authority and they will be court-martialed. In a case like this, is court-martialing adequate, or should there be a follow-up with a civilian court, considering it's such a weighty allegation toppling a government?
By virtue of Section 1 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it's a huge one, it's a treason. And the precedent is already laid. It was Major Kaduna Nzegu that established the martial law on the 15th of January 1966, when he suspended the constitution of the First Republic. And since then, the military have been engaging it. And in 1976, some coup plotters were dealt with, you know, executed by firing squad. And again, in 1986 or thereabout, when Mama Batsa, who allegedly planned a coup against IBB, and some of those who were accused with him were also executed. So the crime of planning a coup or carrying out a coup is attract a severe punishment, capital punishment, or life imprisonment, now that we are under a democratic dispensation. But by and large, the martial law still operates to say, let the military attend to it. But that is not to say that if there are civilians who are involved, because even as far back as December last year, we read that some civilians may be involved in planning that alleged coup. One of them reportedly already out of the country, and he was at the time even trying to, speak to the government from there. So, but the law must take its course. But as mentioned earlier, now that we're in a democratic system, and that globally the world is moving away from implementing capital punishment, let's see how it flows. But if you also look at the Nigerian Armed Forces Act 2004, the punishment prescribed for coup is capital punishment. So, but let's see how it's going. I mean, all these are subject to, again, what the findings of the panel will be, because right now they have been prepared for questioning and further.
Yeah, I mean, 3 months.
Yeah.
There was that denial. It wasn't like, okay, it's just, they said internal. They did not acknowledge that such a humongous attempt was made to just derail this country, as it were. Now, we had a situation not too long ago, just a couple of weeks ago. Kaduna State government also denied the legitimacy of the investigations that are to follow. Will this denial play a role in the process of questioning the validity of the claims that they are now coming to say happened?
Basically, the denial will not interfere with the procedures of the military. But when you talk of the reputation capital of the country, it's a huge one, because we are talking of a whole nation, and we must be seen to be thorough in what we do. But again, as mentioned earlier, that is a public relations challenge. Perhaps what would have happened was to have kept quiet over everything, which again is denial, or to have rushed into. But let me come out with this advice. If you look at the case of Ekweremadus in the UK, thorough investigations were concluded before the prosecution, and that's why there was no delay and everything went on to conclusion. Because when you talk about the criminal justice ecosystem, you talk of thorough investigation, you talk of diligent prosecution before a committed judiciary, except that in this case now, the military intervention will be involved. So perhaps for the wisdom of some of the stakeholders, it was denied. And you know that currently within the ECOWAS community, we've been having different kinds of coup attempts. Even the one that happened in Benin Republic.
Yeah, but looking at the status of Nigeria in Africa, I mean, we still claim to be the giant of Africa, and then we have this scenario play out. How do you think this truth deficit or delayed telling of the truth pending investigation, how will it impact our global diplomatic relationship with others? What perception does this present to the outside world, and how may we manage it?
We have that negative perception, but then I respect the military for having professional public relations practitioners in there. But sometimes also, you are subject to authority. And of course, when you engage the military and the police, sometimes they tell you that in the interest of national security, some informations may not be disclosed. So perhaps this...
But doesn't that become null? Because if you say in the interest of national security, what's the initial reason why you chose not to make that announcement? 3 months down the line, you confirmed. The case of Kaduna State was just the very next day they confirmed.
The case of Kaduna State, I particularly am not happy about what happened in Kaduna State.
No, the crux of what I'm trying to find, I'm speaking to, asking here, is this denial. They say national security. Even the Kaduna State, they said they're enemies of the state. They want to derail the peace that was in the state.
There may be no excuse for what happened in Kaduna State. It was an apparent case. And I think the Commissioner of Police should be further investigated, particularly when we have the suspicion that they are sponsors of terrorism against the nation, and there are those who have bias for Christian persecution. I mean, there was a scenario in Nigeria where a police officer committed suicide because he was in charge of the armory and he was supplying armor to the terrorists. So that is a different case entirely. So
okay, I guess I should rephrase that question and ask you, is there law, are there laws addressing scenarios like this, denial and confirmation, depending on how the denial was framed? If not, should we have something like that? Because this is not a one-off, it's a repeated occurrence.
It's an ethical issue. Constitutionally speaking, there is no law that says you must disclose, except you now go to, you want to find out some facts from the government, like the Freedom of Information Act.
Do they necessarily need to disclose, but say we're investigating something?
That's what they said, but it's perceived as denying that something of that nature happened. But some of us already concluded, even while the government was denying, because as a chief superintendent of police, I was disturbed by why was the parade that should have made the independence celebration colorful cancelled. And immediately I knew something must be wrong. But like I said, in the wisdom of the military, they probably at that point did not want to hit up the policy or be sure of what, but it's commendable that the suspects were apprehended, because it could have been worse if they carried out their intentions. And for the role Nigeria plays in ECOWAS, it would have been an ugly situation too. But right now, like you brilliantly mentioned, I pray that we learn to really disclose. Indeed, we've denied several things. Even right now, we have one going on. Somebody who is declared ambassador designate who was never screened by the Senate and things like that. And how that name featured is another thing. And the government is retracting that disclosure. So by and large, we must be seen to be up and above the game. I mean, we are talking of national issues.
I have one question for you again. Hopefully we have time for that. But our second guest have now joined us. Awal Aliyu is a security analyst. Thank you very much for being here with us. After months of denial, now we have confirmation. Why was this development so shrouded in denial until now?
Well, thank you very much for having me. You see, issue of national security is a very paramount issue that you don't just discuss it just anyhow. And then most especially that it has to do with mutiny. You know, in a military coup attempt or even discussing it is seen as mutiny. So issues that has to do with mutiny in a democratic dispensation is too strict for somebody to just come out and start discussing it until it is confirmed to be true. What if it was mentioned that there was an attempted coup plot, and later it was discovered that it was not a coup plot? Will the government now come back after saying
but was there a need? It's the same question and conversation I've been having with Gideon, but was there a need to make a statement when investigation was still ongoing? And if national security is the reason that's being given repeatedly, couldn't they have framed it in another way other than saying it was an internal issue? It wasn't an internal issue. It was a national issue.
Okay, let me quickly remind you, of two statements. The initial one was said internal issue. The second one, if you remember, it was said it deals on discipline. And then, as far as the military is concerned, when you speak about mutiny, that is indiscipline in the military. So it says it borders on issue of military discipline. And that is a good way of giving it a proper cover until it is thoroughly and properly investigated and the reality is brought out. Then it can be mentioned in the right word that is supposed to be mentioned. Now this issue has been taken before the President and Commander-in-Chief it has been briefed and is going through it. And after going through it, then he has the final say on what needed to be done or what not need to be done, or the next action that needed to be taken as far as the whole issue is concerned.
Okay, this is an important question, so I'm going to read it the way I wrote it here. How might our security balance the need for accountability with the need to maintain stability and avoid further unrest? Because if you say that you are trying to avert some security challenge or protect the country, and then the people feel like wouldn't that curiosity make people do worse out of fear?
No, you see, that is the more reason why it has to be, the word have to be condoned, it has to be controlled, it has to be mitigated, so that fear will not be in the people. You know, we're in a democratic dispensation. Nigeria is a very large country. You know that Nigeria is the biggest country in the whole, the biggest black nation in the whole world. And a lot of the whole African countries are looking up to Nigeria for leadership. So if we have certain kind of challenge or coup d'etat scare in Nigeria, it might send a very bad signal. In fact, it might give room for other smaller countries to begin to do some funny things within their own country. So Nigeria needed to, as a big brother, needed to control the situation, needed to have a proper cover for the statement until proper investigation is done and the reality is unraveled. Then you can begin to bring it out. In any case, the issue is under control. These guys that attempted to do that mutiny are already in hand. Investigation has been going on, a thorough investigation for that matter. And then there is a report that has been presented to the president for his overall, more like for his information. And he's on that report, the president has also been advised. Naturally, the report will go there, and there will be an advice to the president, left for the president to decide on which way to go. If he decides that these guys be court-martialed, they will surely be court-martialed. If he decides otherwise, he is the president and commander-in-chief.
Well, I'm sure we have not.
Under him.
I'm very sure we've not had the last of this development. We'll keep our eyes on it and continue to have conversations. Thank you very much, Awal, for speaking with us. And Jide, I had another question, but we're out of time, so I'll just say thank you so much.
We have to create more time. So we monitor as the events, but we must prevent further insecurity in the land. And that means the law must have its course. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll go on a short break. Coming up, Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf leaves NNPP for APC. We have details of that and, of course, a conversation coming up. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Defense headquarters confirms plots to topple President Bola Tinubu's government, indicted officers to face trial. President Tinubu arrives in Ankara as Nigeria and Turkey move to deepen bilateral relations. President Trump and Governor Tim Walz hold dialogue as Minnesota pushes for impartial inquiry into ICE shootings. President Bola Tinubu has arrived Ankara, Turkey, for a state visit aimed at deepening diplomatic and economic relations between both countries. The visit will focus on expanding cooperation in key sectors including security, education, social development, innovation and aviation, building on the long-standing cordial ties between Nigeria and Turkey. During the visit, President Tinubu will hold high-level political and diplomatic engagement with Turkish President Recep Erdogan
and other top officials. The president is expected to return to Nigeria at the conclusion of the visit. Let's bring you one of our top stories tonight. Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf has officially joined the All Progressive Congress APC in Kano State in an elaborate ceremony at the Coronation Hall of the State Government House. Governor Yusuf went through the mandatory membership e-registration of the APC, after which he publicly announced his defection. News Centre's Emmanuel Bagudu has more.
APC members, in company of their top leaders, realigning with Governor Abba Yusuf. It's time for Governor Yusuf to bid farewell to the new Nigerian People's Party. Still on his red Concosia cap, Governor Yusuf went through the mandatory processes of joining the APC, which comprises the electronic membership registration and the official announcement of his defection to the APC, where he said the move was in the best interest of the state.
I, the governor of Kano, said, Abba Kabir Yusuf Abba Gida Gida, along with my cabinet and all the chairmen, plus the members of the House of Assembly, 22 of them out of 24, and members of the National Assembly, 9 of them out of 14. On behalf of all of them, we have taken the decision to align Kano State politically with the APC.
APC leaders and the executives formally welcomed Governor Yusuf to the party amid cheers.
The policy of APC, all executive governors, they are the leaders of the party in their respective states. Therefore, you are the leader of our party. 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4. Our loyalty, 100% total loyalty, support, and the cooperation.
Governor Yusuf said that going forward, every aspect of his governance will be determined by the interest of the Kano people. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
Many thanks, Emmanuel. Dr. Victor Kai is a political analyst who joins me for this trend of defections in the country and perhaps one-party state. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's start with what happened in Kano today. 44 local government, 22 lawmakers, 774 members of NNPP, and then you have 8 members of the House of Reps, all now in the APC. The question is, let's add to that, 30 states, 29 of 30 states of the Federation are now APC held. Can we still deny that the country is not now in a one-party state?
Good question. I mean, what has happened in Kano is nothing short of a tsunami. It is clearly an upset, especially for the power broker in the state, Kwankwaso. I don't think he saw that coming. I don't know how he was able to put it, but getting straight to your question about, 30 out of 36 states now belonging to APC, obviously, the way it is like Nigeria is running towards a one-party state. But we'll have to wait and see when the elections come, whether it is the governors that are moving. We do not deny the fact that they're influential, but whether they're carrying their people along is something that we'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. Do we have to wait until the elections to confirm what optics seem to be saying? Well, let's Okay, let's take your word for that.
Yeah.
And then look at the reasons being given. I mean, we've had multiple governors come out to say if it is not that they want to align with the center to get benefits for their people, they will cite internal wrangling in their original parties. This time, the governor cites the situation in the NNPP that has made it, internal wranglings that have made it necessary for him to move. What are your thoughts about the reasons being given? This time it's not about what is the most beneficial to the people, but as a result of internal party crisis.
Okay, we'll have to look at both and understand the motives behind them. But this one that has been given is obviously one that every one of them will have to give for constitutional reasons. You know, obviously, that you cannot, get get a mandate from one party and then move on to another party. It's not legal, it's not lawful, unless, of course, you can cite and justify that there are factions within the party. And so what you're at, or in some cases, they try to instigate what seems like, a party that is not united so that they can justify their movement from one party into another. So that's the obvious reason. And the other reason which others cite, in addition, but this is a reason must cite, otherwise it becomes illegal. You cannot just, if all is well, you cannot leave your party and move to another party. The other one is the argument to their people that they're trying to align with the center. And this dangerous signal of this sense, obviously, is the fact that it means that the center is not fair to the component parts. It means, therefore, that if you do not belong to the center, then you cannot get the benefits that are due to you. And that sends a very disturbing signal.
I just had a quick thought as to lawmakers and this matter of defection. I mean, everyone seems to be guilty at this point, but looking at the trend that we've seen over, not just with this administration, but from previous administration, why do you think there's been no thought among our lawmakers to consider a legislation that punishes or puts stringent conditions for defection, particularly for individuals elected on a different platform to move to another more convenient platform when the politics dictate? Obviously,
they cannot legislate against themselves. It's a sad truth. For many of them, these movements are not driven by ideology. They are driven by selfish interests. And if you recall what the former chairman of the APC said, that people should come and join their party and their sins will be forgiven. And so I suspect that perhaps many of these politicians are sinners whose dossiers have been shown to them, and in a subtle blackmail, they are being forced to either comply or their sins will catch up with them. Otherwise, I don't understand the guilt of defections and what the attraction is for many of them. It just doesn't make sense to me ordinarily. So that, for me, these are my thoughts concerning this.
Some are concerned that this defection raises the stakes significantly ahead of 2027, given that his current decision is out of odds with his political benefactor, Rabiu Kwakwanso, who, by the way, has declared today World Day of Betrayal, something along those lines. What do you think, or what do you see happening next?
Okay, on a lighter note, I don't know if there's a World Day of Betrayal, but I think it should be worth putting into the calendar so that it is celebrated worldwide as a World Day of Betrayal.
World Betrayal Day.
Yes, and there's no better person to say it than himself. And the reason is simple. Who would have thought? Kwankwaso and the Kwankwasia movement was thought to be unshakable in Kano State. The unthinkable just happened. That's why I described my opening as a tsunami. How Yusuf was able to pull it, I cannot tell. 44 local government area chairman, that's the whole, all 44 local government areas, chairman in Kano State. At the National Assembly, 9 out of 14. Okay? And you're looking at, I mean, nearly everybody, all these commissioners except for one. And then, so in National State Assembly, everything. So it's got to be the World Day of Betrayal, obviously, because he would never have seen it coming. But what this portends in 2027 is something that we'll have to wait and see. And I say so because there are some states that are traditionally one way, let me put it this way. And when leaders on their own, for whatever reason, either because they want to cover their sins or because of whatever benefits they think they want to gain, move, unless they're able to carry their people along effectively, they might just find out that they are on their own, clearly. They might just find out that they're on their own. It's too early to say yet, but the kind of politics Yusuf has played Yusuf must be a grandmaster. I don't know how he was able to pull this.
I guess so. We'll wait and see. That was your opening statement, and it's almost the last thing you said. We'll wait and see what happens in the coming days.
Well,
thank you very much, as always.
Thank you.
Still ahead, preacher indicted in Kenya's starvation courts to face 52 additional death charges. That story and more when we come back. Thank you for staying with us. The All Progressive Congress, APC, has rejected claims that Vice President Kashim Shettima could be dropped as President Bola Tinubu's running mate ahead of the 2027 general elections. In a statement on Monday, the party said the stories are untrue and baseless, warning against giving airtime to unverified rumors. The party further stated that there is no plan to substitute the vice president, urging journalists and political actors not to promote gossip that is designed to create confusion. As the trial of Nigeria's former oil minister Diezani Alison-Madueke gets underway in London, it's a case that goes far beyond the courtroom. Once celebrated as a trailblazer for women in global energy, she now faces serious corruption allegations, claims she strongly denies. This trial is being closely watched in Nigeria and around the world, raising big questions about power, accountability, and whether global justice systems can finally hold political elites to account. News Central's senior international correspondent, Afia Hagen, was in court today and brings us a closer analysis of why this case matters.
Unfolds in a London courtroom, the case of Diezani Alison-Madueke is about far more than one former minister. It's a story about power, accountability, and the global fight against corruption. Alison-Madueke was once celebrated as a trailblazer, Nigeria's first female oil minister and the first woman to lead OPEC, breaking barriers in one of the world's most male-dominated industries. But today she stands accused of accepting bribes in exchange for lucrative oil contracts, allegations she strongly denies. Now, what makes this trial extraordinary is not just who was in a dock, but where it's happening. The UK prosecuting a former African cabinet minister is part of a growing global push to prevent financial centres from becoming safe havens for alleged corruption. It reflects a shift in international law enforcement, where jurisdiction no longer ends at borders when money, assets and intermediaries move through global financial systems. For Nigeria, the trial reopens painful questions about how oil wealth has been managed and mismanaged over decades. Billions of dollars that should have funded schools, hospitals and infrastructure have been lost to corruption, and this case is seen as a rare moment of accountability reaching the highest levels of power. There is also a complex gender narrative here. Alison-Madueke's rise was symbolic for women in leadership, but this trial complicates that legacy. It's a reminder that representation matters, but so does transparency and diversity. They must go hand in hand with strong institutions and accountability. Now, if she is convicted, it could lead to prison time, further asset seizures, and renewed efforts by Nigeria to reclaim alleged stolen funds. If acquitted, it will raise questions about how difficult it is to prosecute corruption years after the fact. Either way, this trial is a global test case. It asks whether the world's legal systems can truly hold powerful political figures to account, and whether the era of impunity for elite corruption is finally coming to an end. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan at Southwark Crown Court in London.
The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, in partnership with the Kano Oil and Gas, has completed a 2-week vocational training and empowerment program on plumbing and pipe fitting for youths in Lagos. The initiative is part of efforts to build local capacity and improve the employability of young Nigerians. News Center's Israel Iferobo reports.
Organizers say the program is designed to equip participants with practical, industry-related skills that can translate into jobs or small businesses.
Because I think what it means for the NCDMB and the country at large is having people who are more skilled, at least in the area of the plumbing and the pipe fitting. Like we've heard some of the participants say, they've been able to learn so much, and some of them are going to carry on. Even those who are plumbers are going to be better at what they do. Those who don't have any idea about plumbing now, some of them have even tried it out in their houses, and some of them are hoping to start, side gigs, side businesses from plumbing to make some extra money for themselves.
Facilitators at the training said the 2-week exercise combined classroom instruction with intensive hands-on practice, exposing participants to modern plumbing and pipe fitting techniques.
It's just the starting point. They need to learn more. But we have given them a thorough, basic and extensive training. We have showed them so many things. Even we have taken them to toilets to see the physical training of what we have been telling them.
It's a privilege and honor for Kano Oil and Gas to partner with NCDMB on this project, on this particular training, plumbing and pipe fitting for youths in Lagos State. Of course, Kano Oil and Gas is an engineering, procurement and construction company, an indigenous company, and partnering with the NCDMB to enhance capacity and build skills across the nation. It's an honor. Now, this works for us in 2 ways. Number one, as a company, we would have people that we can, count on to carry out our works or projects, but we're also helping the country to also build capacity for people across the country to build capacity in plumbing and pipe fitting.
Trainees, on their part, expressed excitement over the skills acquired and the new opportunities ahead. Many say the training has boosted their confidence and given them a pathway to employment or entrepreneurship.
For this training, at least I'm able to learn a lot. At least I'm able to fix my washing machine by myself. I didn't know that before, but with this training, I'm glad to boldly say I can do that without somebody showing me how to do that.
My experience in the last 2 weeks has been amazing and pretty fascinating. I learned a lot of things about plumbing, like the basic about plumbing, like toilet installations, shower installations, and also the connection of pipes. And there are things that I didn't know before, but I'm glad to say I know them now.
It has been wonderful, it has been beautiful, it has been extremely impactful. I want to say a very big thank you to the organizer, NCDMB, Kano. I want to say a very big thank you to you for this great opportunity to be here. It has been really, really helpful to us. I want to say a very big thank you, really appreciate it. Yeah, I've learned different type of skills like the pipe. I know how to identify the pipes. I know the uses. I can differentiate them. I know the one to use for hot water, the cold water. I know how to run the toilet seat, the WC. I know the function and so many other things.
With all this experience I've gathered here, I know if I go to the world then I approve of this and experience strongly. So because of that, I say thank you SCDMB, thank you Canetons for the great knowledge that is at a patterns, especially in me.
The organizers believe the program will have a ripple effect by empowering more youths and supporting skills development across Nigeria. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Ifirobo.
To East Africa now, a self-proclaimed Kenyan preacher tied to a deadly starvation court is set to face charges over 52 additional deaths discovered at a second location. The case began in 2023 with the Shakahola Forest Massacre, where more than 400 followers of the Good News International Church reportedly starved to death under the influence of self-styled pastor Paul Mackenzie. Mackenzie will now be formally charged in connection with deaths uncovered at Binzaro village in Kilifi County, about 30 kilometers from the original site. And to one of our lead stories, President Donald Trump and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz have spoken about the aftermath of the fatal shooting of 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Petty by a U.S. Border Patrol agent in South Minneapolis. Walz had requested federal cooperation and urged better coordination on immigration enforcement following two deadly agent-involved shootings in the city this month. The White House described the call as productive, with Trump saying they are on a similar wavelength and dispatching border Caesar Tom Homan to Minnesota. Petty's death has sparked national outrage and protest as authorities and video accounts differ over the circumstances of the shooting. Tonight returns with business, sports and entertainment news. Just stay with us.
Business news. Nigeria's money supply rose to 124.4 trillion naira in December 2025, up 1.2% from 122.9 trillion naira in November, driven by growth in narrow money and credit. Narrow money grew 4.05% to 42.14 trillion naira. Demand deposits rose 3.08% to 36.7 trillion naira, and currency outside banks jumped 10.2% to 5.4 trillion naira. Credit to government surged 29.5% to 34.2 trillion, while credit to private sector grew 1.6%. The Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC Limited, has congratulated Chevron Nigeria Limited on the successful Awodi 07 well in western Niger Delta, confirming significant hydrocarbon presence. Drilled safely and efficiently between November to December 2025, the discovery strengthens assets confidence and supports Nigeria's energy security. NNPC Limited and Chevron aim to boost production to 146,000 barrels per day through their joint venture, aligning with strategic priorities of increasing production and delivering sustainable value for Nigerians. The first trading day of the week on the Nigerian exchange ended with marginal gains at the end of transactions. The all-share index and market capitalization both closed flat, with 0.00% recorded, with market capitalization staying at 106.06 trillion naira. Now, sectorial performance. Let's have a rundown of the indices we're tracking. The day ended with a marginal growth recorded. The consumer goods sector earned plus 0.16%, followed by banking at plus 0.02%, while industrial good had no activities recorded. Meanwhile, insurance dragged the exchange down with minus 1.40%, followed by oil and gas sector, which lost by minus 0.06%. And that does it for news, business news tonight. Up next is sport.
And in sports, Nigeria will hold a 4-week residential training camp in Scotland ahead of the 2026 Commonwealth Games, the National Sports Commission confirmed. Now, the camp, to be based in Aberdeen, is designed to aid early acclimatization, improve coordination, and reduce travel-related fatigue for Team Nigeria before the Games begin on July 23rd. The Commission said early arrival reflects lessons learned from previous international events and aligns with recommendations from the Elite Podium Board and global best practices. Officials have already begun logistical planning, including accommodation arrangements, to guarantee a smooth transition into competition mode. The Glasgow Games will run from July 23rd to August 2nd, featuring 10 sports. The Director General of the National Sports Commission has confirmed discussions are currently ongoing over a possible contract extension for Super Eagles head coach Eric Chell. Appointed in January 2025 on a 2-year deal, Chell has 1 year remaining on his contract, but is reportedly attracting interest following Nigeria's third-place finish at the just concluded 2025 African Cup of Nations in Morocco. And despite failing to secure qualification for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the Franco-Malian coach earned widespread backing from fans due to the team's improved performances. The NFF will now shift focus to Nigeria's competitive calendar, including potential World Cup playoff development and the start of the 2027 AFCON qualifiers later in the year. Still talking football, the Abia State Governor Alex Oti has confirmed the appointment of Cameroonian tactician Emmanuel Deutsch as the new head coach of the Nigeria Premier Football League side Enyimba, triggering fresh uncertainty over the club's technical leadership. The decision comes weeks after Enyimba announced Deji Ayeni as permanent manager, with Ayeni already taking charge of 2 league matches, including a goalless draw and a subsequent defeat. State authorities said the move is aimed at restoring Enyimba's competitive edge after a period of decline from its traditional dominance in Nigerian and African football. Deutsch brings extensive experience holding CAF A, B, and C licenses and has previously coached Abia Warriors and Sunshine Stars. He was also named the Nigerian National League Coach of the Year in 2025. And that's a wrap on Sports Update tonight. I'm Favor Itwa. Entertainment is up next with Sam Daddy.
And now in entertainment, Nigerian Film Corporation, NFC, congratulated Funke Akindele, the cast and crew, for the hit Nollywood film Behind the Scenes, noting the film's strong performance in Nigeria, as well as top-grossing Nollywood status in the UK and Ireland. The success is being celebrated as a major win for Nollywood's global growth and commercial strength. Behind the Scenes had officially crossed the 2 billion naira mark at the box office, becoming the first Nollywood production in Africa to achieve the feat. Released in December the 12th, 2025, the film also emerged as the fastest West African movie to reach 1 billion naira and recorded the highest single-day gross on Boxing Day. I mean, Funke is not new to this, but out of Nigeria, now out of the continent, Kanye West, now known as Ye, has issued a public apology for his past anti-Semitic remarks, expressing regrets and stating that he is not a Nazi. He revealed that a previously undiagnosed brain injury from his 2002 car accident and struggles with bipolar type 1 disorder contributed to years of erratic behavior. Ye acknowledged the harm his statement caused, particularly to Jewish communities, and said he is now focused on treatment, accountability, and personal growth. The apology marks a shift in tone after years of backlash over inflammatory public comments. Well, Kanye is controversial. We do hope he's getting the right treatment, and hopefully we don't get any more crazy comments from him. But those are the biggest stories in entertainment. I am Sam Dandy.
And that's all the news we have for you tonight. As always, we'll appreciate your feedback. Please share them using the details on your screen. You can do that as well on all socials at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.